Hello, this is UA, and I was asked about unfettered rope dart combos and things to keep in mind, so I'm going to explain how the weapon works, what things can be used with it and at what times, what to keep an eye out for, and generally just how to play the weapon. So let's take a look. I'm here with the training dummy again, and the first thing I'm going to tell you about is that you need to angle your attacks. The most common problem with this unfettered rope dart is that you can drop your combo. Q into charged R. It's an intended combo in the game, and you drop it. You don't always drop it, but depending on your ping, it'll be more consistent that you drop it. Well, how do you make it never drop? You angle the attack. First two attacks of the Q you hit head on, and then you turn 90 degrees to the right. You can even slowly turn all the way backwards if you wish. You do need to be careful to not hit someone with the very beginning of the third attack, because then it's just going to waste all your efforts, so don't turn too far too quickly. But generally, just this third swing that happens in this counterclockwise motion, you want to hit it later so that your animation ends earlier in relation to your opponent's stagger timer, because the stagger timer does not adjust depending on when the attack hits. So that looks like this. And if you get this down in your muscle memory, your combos will very consistently be true, knowing that the charged R can't really be buffered. So next thing I'm going to talk about is this charged R. It knocks people back onto their feet, and this opponent's hitbox is going to be dynamic. When they tumble around, their different limbs have their hitboxes in different places, which means that between that and just the sheer momentum they have, you need to have specific timing in order to combo off the charged R. So the number one thing you might want to use to combo off of charged R is free morph. I would say free morph is very important if you're going to use this with any other weapon, because it allows a lot of combos to bridge. Not specifically off of this weapon, but it can. I don't really use it to combo off of this weapon. I use it more for my Hangdao, but free morph works for the charged R, so why not share it with you? First thing you'll notice is that if you use it too quickly, it's going to miss. So you need to use it later. Use it later so that the magnetism activates. And don't worry, you've got time. It's going to be true. Some other things that are true, depending on which direction they're getting knocked in and where their hitbox flies around, is Dragon's Breath, Guardian Palm, and tab swaps. And if you're using a Hangdao like me, the window that you want to use the tab swap is such that your charged R attack ends somewhere between around here in relation to your opponent. This large swinging attack ends around somewhere around here, all the way to well behind you. So it's a large window, somewhat. It's not hard to hit, but generally you just need to focus on not hitting the tab swap too quickly, because if you do that, it's going to whiff, because they're going to tumble underneath your blade, which is really goddamn annoying. So we're lucky that as long as you just keep this muscle memory in mind, it will be true. So that is how to combo off of this charged R, and that's how to make the Q combo into the charged R. Next thing you want to know is that this snap has similar rules. It can knock someone in any direction, and most notably, if they're running around, it will always knock them forward onto their face. If they're running towards you, you can probably combo off of it by punishing a dodge by using the snap just as they dodge, so that it catches their dodge. And then they'll tumble towards you, and you might true combo it into whatever other weapon you're using. But other than that, if you're using this as a main weapon, you might want to know how to make its combos as long as possible. And crucially, you're never going to have enough Vendetta tokens to get the full charged R, which you need. You can't use any weaker version, or you're going to have a very awkward staring contest with your opponent. You're going to need toe line. You're going to need the tokens of gratitude it grants you when you hit your Q attack. So you're going to hit your Q attack pretty frequently during the battle. and when you hit it, it's going to give you your tokens back, and that's the only reason you're going to have enough of your charged stars uptime for it to be a viable weapon. If you go for something else, then you can expect to use this weapon sparingly. So, when it comes to an optimal combo, to use 2 charged Rs back to back basically as fast as possible, you use your first charged R raw, use a light attack, you use a Q, and then use your second charged star. And depending on your ping, that's not going to be true. It's a ping combo. You can make it true, however, if you have a tab swap that reaches that far. So let's say I have the Hangdao. If I tab swap off of this charged star, then scroll swap back, then that's a true combo. It lasts 7.7 seconds. You can also see the damage very poor. I don't imagine this is going to be a very good damage weapon, even with its snap. So you're going to be able to use your charged Rs back to back only if you have Vendetta, or not Vendetta, only if you have Toe Line on. You need Toe Line for that. Tier 0 works. Every tier is more useful, so I'd recommend upgrading it. It gives you the ability to have the debuff that knocks people onto their feet. You need the full Soul Break debuff to knock people onto their feet. Otherwise, they're just going to do a tiny stack like this, which is not worth very much. You're going to want it up as long as possible, so the first level of Toe Line makes it last 18 seconds, which is just barely enough time to be very convenient. And then the last level allows you to reapply it with a snap, which is always very useful. So equip Toe Line and use it. It's useful for this build, for any build that uses Unfettered. So, what did I cover already? You're going to need Toe Line. You can combo 2 charged Rs as long as you have it. The charged Rs combo into other things as long as people get knocked away in a convenient manner, or if you're using something that has sort of a well-planned timing. I would recommend this as a buff weapon. You can combo off of this this Burn and Bury, this snap, but it's not going to be easy to combo off of it using the rope dart itself. You're going to want a secondary weapon, or a primary weapon for that matter. The most convenient thing I can imagine, since people can get knocked in any direction, is the tracking on Hangdao. So use the tracking on Hangdao after a snap to catch someone, and that's a true combo. I will demonstrate. So now they have Soul Break and 4 stacks of Soul Bound. The Soul Bound's not very important, except for 7 stacks of Soul Bound applies Soul Break. Now that they have Soul Break, I can snap, scroll swap, and then use my Q, and that's a true combo. I didn't execute it very well there, I executed it kind of slowly, but that's a true combo on the Hangdao. And the reason why I would say you want to use this weapon as a secondary, other than just its low damage, is its bonus. For critical weapons, anyone who has Soul Break applied takes 27% critical damage additionally. And I'm using this with the Snow Parting Blade, which also has 21% critical damage on it. So as you can imagine, my criticals are very strong. So when I head into battle with a full 80% critical rate, and all the critical bonuses in the arena attunements I can get, I can do very high damage with this hybrid build. Assuming I don't drop the combo. But I'm always going to drop the combo when I'm recording, so. And 11,000 DPS is very strong. You can do this in just about enough time for it to be effective before the 10-second combo timer ends, and you can also pre-buff the charged R so that you can apply the Soul Break with the charged R alone, which is something I'm going to talk about in terms of tactics. So now you know how to combo with the weapon, but I also wanted to talk about how to play the weapon properly. This Q is an animation lock. It is not safe to use as long as your opponent has a Serene. They might not know that since this weapon is so uncommon, but you need to hold on to this or just use it in neutral for a very short amount of time so that you can depend on your charged R until the time is right. And luckily, the cooldown is short, and it gets a lot shorter when you use the charged R. So you're going to have your Q attack very often, even if you use it frequently in neutral. So your priority, when they still have Serene, is going to be using it in neutral so that you can get this Soulbound buff and be able to apply Soul Break. So once they have their Serene Breeze gone, you can use it as a combo tool, and it's very useful out of all sorts of combos. So, with Tier 6 of Toe Line, you can apply the Soul Break again for another 18 seconds. I don't know if I mentioned that already. That's pretty important. You can dodge out of, parry out of, block out of, I believe. Well, you can't block out of this. You can parry out of it, you can dodge out of it. So this charged R is definitely the safe move to use, and if you have the attunement on, which you should, you definitely need this attunement. It allows you to override people easier. If you have this attunement, your tenacity lasts longer as long as you hit your opponent, but it only lasts 0.6 seconds, so just about like a half or a third of the time that the full charged R lasts. So you can watch my glow ends shortly before I dodged there. And that's going to be the time where they're going to want a Serene Breeze. So they're Serene Breezing you, you're trying to get their Serene Breeze out, you're hitting them. You need to dodge away and react to their Serene Breeze during any time during the second half of your attack. But if they're rushing into you with something that has a lower stagger priority, and you hit them first with your charged R, for a moment you're going to have tenacity. So you have an ever so slightly higher chance of winning a trade. But when you start a game, if you're going to be playing like me, you're going to apply this bonus. The hitbox does need to come out, or this Soulbound won't apply. If you use it instantly, and then instantly parry it, you do not get the bonus. So you need to use it for just long enough that you see the rope dart shake around in your peripheral for a little bit, and then you can parry it. And then I would use Intoxicated like most people. And then I chase people down with my Hang Dao, or I use my Gravity Cancel tech to make most of their ki disappear at the beginning of the battle if I'm feeling cheeky, although that's generally not a good idea because it kind of just invites them to force us both to lose our Serene Breeze at the beginning of the game. That might be favorable, kind of depends on what you want, but everyone does more damage in this, so. If you're playing like me, you're applying the buff, you're maybe applying Intoxicated, and every time your opponent's giving you too much room to breathe, you can reapply this since it's not going to be safe in a combo anyway until they Serene Breeze. And if they're giving you way too much room to breathe, you can start healing yourself. So that's almost going to ensure they come back for more. They can't just run away from you forever because you're going to benefit more than they are unless they have something like a fan that can light attack you or something else that can attack you from a distance, because then they're going to punish you for trying to heal on their turf. But anyone who has a close range weapon is going to come rushing in, and that's your opportunity to wait for them to use a weak attack and then use the charged R to counterattack them. And that's generally how this weapon works. And I, because I love myself, don't rely on Drunken Poet to ensure a catch. I generally try to catch people's dodges or try to hit between people's parries, stuff like that. And if I'm getting rushed too often, I'll switch to this weapon and I'll start twirling it until they make themselves weak. I'll take all that damage just for the chance to combo them back. But generally, I stay on my Hang Dao. I dodge out of every attack I can. I get myself a guard counter. That's going to be how you're going to want to play with this weapon anyway. I mean, sure, mix in your Drunken Poet, do what's comfortable for you. But this weapon, even though you have the ability to heal, it's not going to end all, and neither is your tenacity. If you do your charged R at the wrong time, you're going to get knocked out. So just don't depend on it. Even if you hold on to it until the most convenient moment at all times, you're going to be taking a lot of damage for just standing there. So generally when you're charging this, You might not even see it as insurance, as you still do all your evasive maneuvers, parry and dodge and whatever you might do. Because if you're going to be using this as sort of a primary weapon where you're holding it the most often, you're going to want to spend most of your time draining your opponent's options, because they're going to spend a lot of time trying to outsmart you and catch you when you're trying to dodge away or parry, which means they're going to be using their endurance, they're going to be using their drunken poet, they're going to be using their vitality, and you're going to be dodging away until eventually they do something dumb, and then that's your chance to counterattack. I would definitely not recommend playing this weapon aggressively, though, because they can still hit you, they can still deal damage, and if they're running from you anyway, none of these are going to hit unless it's like right after an execute and you just barely catch their dodge, which does happen sometimes. I would definitely recommend practicing that. But most important thing with this weapon is definitely going to be reactions. Even when you have this tenacity shield, you can kind of keep up at all times if you're really a coward. But that's kind of the long and short of it. Just remember to apply this buff so that your charged R applies that debuff, because you're going to get your crit damage, you're going to get your 5% health damage and key damage. You're going to get the ability to do a strong snap on them. The weak snap's not worth very much. It doesn't stagger them for very long, and they just kind of do a little small movement. But if you have like this ability to do the strong snap, you have this ability to deal more damage when you finally do get your combo in. So at all times, you're going to want to make sure that you're starting your combos with the buff applied. So unless you're using the Q during a combo and you're already planning on applying your buff after using the Q and the opponent doesn't have Serene, so what does it matter? You're going to want to start your combos with the charged R already being buffed. And people love to Serene out of this. You love to. So even though the true combo for this is to tab swap immediately, and the tab swap is a animation lock as far as I know, they're going to try to Serene during the time that you can still dodge during this weapon being swung around at them, because they don't know, or no one knows how to play against it, so all they know is that they want to get you to stop, so you're still stuck to them, so they're going to Serene. So if you predict the Serene is going to happen around here, which I wouldn't recommend that, just understand it will and wait for it to happen. But once it does, you'll have enough time to dodge away. But definitely play carefully until they give up and Serene you, because then you have the option to use your Q during a combo. Then you don't necessarily need to pre-buff as long as you are prepared to use the Q during the combo and then use a charged R, you know. But if they have their Serene, or if they're giving you a very distant neutral, definitely apply the buff ahead of time. You're going to want to use your charged R more than your Q. One last thing I want to talk about is that there are some attacks that are true out of cloud steps, and I don't see anyone doing this. But that would be true. It depends on which direction they get knocked out around in. It's a ping combo otherwise. They're always knocked to my left side, which is really inconvenient. Yeah, that's really odd. See if it can. No, they're always knocked in that direction. You can make it true depending on the attack. Here's another example. So you can do true things out of Cloud Steps. Cloud Steps has tenacity, and it breaks tenacity, so it's just a great way to start a combo. And I believe there are ways to start a combo using the Unfettered, even though I wasn't able to prove it just now, out of Cloud Steps. So definitely practice that. I think that's everything. I really tried not to repeat anything I've already said or forget anything I wanted to talk about. So with all this information, you'll surely know how to use this weapon to its utmost effectiveness without seeming like a fool who just picked it up for the tenacity. Because even if the weapon didn't have tenacity, I mean, come on. 27% critical damage is crazy. I am kind of happy I figured out that that existed, because by God do I want to use it. So maybe I can finish off with a few example combos, although I'm pretty sure I already showed them. the one thing I would like to show, which is a Unfettered Hang Dao combo. Is not that, it's... Oops, wrong weapon. It's a combo that you can use Fire Breath and Drunken Poet during the combo. So, use this, you tap swap, you heavy, you Fire Breath, follow up with another full one of those, Drunken Poet twice. That's a 9-second combo, and it gets about the same damage plus trickle damage later on. So that's an option you got in your reserve, and then you can snap someone who's running away from you. Either way, I hope you have fun with this weapon, because it's severely underplayed. And I hope this helped. If I'm asked to study a weapon combination and make a video that talks about how the weapons work and what things combo into what, I might be willing to do that. Especially because I kind of loathe the most common way that people like to do these common videos, or these combo videos, where they just show you a ton of examples and they never explain the mechanics or why they're doing things in a certain order. But here I'm here to tell you, like, this attack combos into this set of things depending on this set of factors. You want to apply your buffs before you do your combo, so on and so forth, right? So this line of thinking, it would help me better, so I'd imagine it'd help others better. So now that you know how this weapon works, you can either play for or against the weapon with a bit more effectiveness. And I think I'll actually give one more tip, and that is that if you're counterplaying this and you don't know how to get past this tenacity, any weapon can do it. The very common answer is just to go flying in with Drunken Poet, but always mix in a bait. Either act like you're about to come in while you're vulnerable, or instead act like you're going to come in and then become vulnerable and then immediately cancel into some state where you're not vulnerable, because I believe this, after this first charge, gets additional stagger. So you're going to want to have tenacity or something with a high priority of defense in order to bypass that. But in order for someone using this rope dart to let go of their tenacity because they think they've got you, you need to bait them. You can even just act like you're running in and then dodge back out, because then they're going to lose their tokens, then they need to use their Q again, and they might not have their charge jar or their full charge jar for a moment yet after that. So you might be able to Drunken Poet into them. And for your information, this attunement that gives them tenacity, it can only occur once every 15 seconds, so, you know, it's not impossible to get past. It's like getting past a Heaven Quaker. I'm gonna end the video here, so I hope that this helped, and if you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments, and yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.